I recently did a video on the founding and spread of Anabaptism, and it turned out to be extremely popular. And while I was doing research for that video, I came across countless stories that showed acts of bravery in the face of evil, and unbelievable amounts of courage while spreading their beliefs. And I want to share two of these stories that I found today. Dirk Willems was born in Asperen, Netherlands, and was rebaptized as a young adult, rejecting his infant baptism that had been practiced by the magisterial Protestants and Catholics. This action, as well as his continuous devotion to Anabaptism, led to his condemnation by the state church in the Netherlands, and ultimately his arrest by the state authorities. But because all of the regular prisons were full of Anabaptist prisoners, Willems was actually held in a residential palace, the Palace of Aspen, that had been turned into a prison, and he escaped the palace by tying ropes made out of knotted rags. Using this, he was able to climb out of the window and slide down the rope and make a run for it. However, a guard saw Willems escape and began to chase him. During this pursuit, Willems was able to run over a nearby frozen pond because the small prison rations that he had been surviving off of made him much lighter than his chaser. However, the prison guard broke through the ice and yelled for help as he struggled in the icy water. Willems, hearing his pursuer's calls for help, turned around and actually saves the life of his pursuer. But after this honorable act, Willems was recaptured and held in this Palace of Aspen until he was burned at the stake in May 16, 1569 AD. And today, the legendary life of Dirk Willems is celebrated as an important martyr amongst the Anabaptists, and a hero to the modern residents of Asperen. In 2018, a statue of Dirk Willems was unveiled at the Mennonite Heritage Village in Stibach, Manitoba. Now, just like the first story, this next story's most incredible part is at the very end. This next story is about the incredible death of an Anabaptist named Michael Sattler, and he plans a magnificent display when he was burned at the stake. Michael Sattler was born in a small town of Stoften, Germany in 1490 AD, just 50 miles north of Switzerland. He became a Benedictine monk at the Abbey of St. Peter in the Black Forest, and he was possibly also a Catholic priest. However, Sattler left St. Peter's in May 1525 after the monastery was taken over by soldiers fighting in the German peasant revolts, and Sattler arrives in Zurich, Switzerland shortly thereafter. In 1525, where Anabaptism had been founded, and was spreading very rapidly. And Sattler becomes a member of this emerging religious group in the summer of 1526 when he is rebaptized as an adult. And immediately afterward, he begins preaching Anabaptist positions on the gospel, including preaching against infant baptism in northern Switzerland and even in Strasbourg. And Sattler goes on to become a very important figure in the early Anabaptist writings and theology. But as we've seen, Anabaptist leaders never last for very long, and in our previous Anabaptist video, we have gone over how the magisterial Protestant and Catholic state churches would try to eliminate all Anabaptists, and later on even hiring up to 1,000 special police known as the Anabaptist hunters. And eventually these state church authorities caught up and arrested Michael Sattler and his wife for their Anabaptist beliefs, who were forced out of Zurich. However, this scare did not stop Sattler, who on February 24, 1527, was the chairman over a secret Anabaptist meeting in the small town of Schleitheim, Switzerland, where the Anabaptist leaders discussed and agreed on their fundamental principles and beliefs. Sattler is the one who actually wrote the Schleitheim Confession and presented it to these Anabaptist leaders at this conference, and it was accepted by everyone at the meeting with no opposing voices. So after Sattler's Schleitheim Confession is adopted, he and his wife, Margaretha, go on to preach in the town of Horb, Germany. However, the state authorities noticed the Anabaptist activity in Horb, and the couple was arrested, along with 24 other prominent Anabaptist leaders, and they were all placed in the prison tower of Bisdorf. Their trial was on May 17, 1527, in Rodenburg, where they were accused of preaching heretical Anabaptist beliefs and had 9 charges laid against them. The court records even show that the group of prisoners' defense was Michael Sattler, who challenged the judge and the court and the prosecution that if the best Bible teachers could prove us Anabaptists wrong by using the Holy Scriptures, then we will gladly drop our beliefs and disavow our beliefs, and also willingly suffer the sentence and punishment for which we have been accused. But if no error is proven to us, I hope to God that you will be converted and receive instruction." The judge's response to this defense was, quote, "The hangman shall dispute with you, I assure you." And on May 21st, 1527 AD, as the judge had ordered, Michael Sattler was delivered to the executioner in the middle of the town square, in front of all the local townspeople. Now, interestingly, the first thing the executioner did was cut off Sattler's tongue. And this is done because Anabaptists were infamous for evangelizing and preaching Anabaptism to the public during their persecution, and they didn't want Sattler to do that. And then Sattler was chained down and he was stabbed with red-hot tongs 7 times. After this public torture, multiple eyewitness accounts wrote that Michael Sattler's mangled and tortured body was tied to a ladder, and the ladder was placed into the fire. But Michael Sattler had promised several of his fellow Anabaptists beforehand that he would give them a signal if this persecution was bearable, and if they could go through this too. And the multiple eyewitnesses wrote that after this flaming fire had burned off the rope that tied Sattler's hands by his side, Sattler raised his hands and pointed upwards with 2 fingers, signaling that what he was going through was bearable in comparison for what was to come after death, and that his Anabaptist colleagues could do this too. After Michael Sattler had burned alive and was dead, the male prisoners were stabbed to death, while the women, including Sattler's wife, Margaretha, were drowned in the Nectar River. Today, inside the town of Rodenburg, you can find a memorial rock with the engraving, "Michael and Margaretha Sattler, they died for their faith." I hope you enjoyed both of these true Anabaptist stories. And you can find our other popular Anabaptist video that describes the founding, spread, and the beliefs of the Anabaptists right here. To help us out, please like and share this video with your friends and family. And to help us out, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Thank you for watching.